Hello. Where are you right now? In front of the roaring flames, I was at a loss for words when my husband's call came in. Answering the phone, my husband seemed completely unconcerned about my anxiety as he casually spoke. I'm at my parents' house right now. I came to pick up something I forgot, and I thought I'd stay overnight again. Mom told me to take it easy, so there you have it. My husband, who knew nothing, calmly continued to spin his usual web of lies. It seemed he intended to stay leisurely in his childhood home, just as the fire was raging through it. My anger burned as fiercely as the flames. Sure, go ahead. But your childhood home is burning down right in front of my eyes, I said. Upon hearing those words, my husband's voice trembled with shock. What? What do you mean? My name is Esmeralda, a 31-year-old homemaker. I left my job in the apparel industry after getting married, a job I had enjoyed immensely, surrounded by cute clothes. However, marriage is about compromising with your spouse's wishes. Ideally, I would have preferred both of us working, but my husband insisted I focus on being a homemaker, so I had no choice. Now, I spend my days leisurely doing housework. It can be a bit boring at times, but finding joy in trying out new recipes is up to me. My husband Griffin is 35 years old, older than me, and works for a major trading company. He exudes cleanliness and confidence, always appearing composed. I really liked his demeanor. We met through a friend's introduction, started dating thanks to his approach, and our relationship has been great ever since. Even after we started dating, my husband has always been considerate and kind to me. I never really had much experience with dating during my school days, especially since I attended an all-girls school. So, it felt like my dream come true. Our relationship continued for 2 years, and considering our ages, we decided to get married. He's a family-oriented person with a good income, so you could say he's an excellent husband. Thanks to him, I can focus on household duties, and I'm really grateful. I didn't dislike my job, but perhaps it was a case of always wanting what you don't have. One thing that concerns me, though, is my husband's demanding job. Lately, my husband seems to be extremely busy with work. He's constantly working overtime, returning home late, often arriving back home after I've gone to bed. Furthermore, even on his precious days off, he's consumed by meetings and preparations and frequently ends up going to the office. Still, he manages to maintain a sharp appearance and heads to work diligently every day. I wonder if this is what it means to be an elite. But what concerns me even more is my husband's health. No matter how strong a worker he is, it's meaningless if he breaks down physically. Judging by his energetic daily commutes, it seems his spirit hasn't waned. He's admirable and truly dependable as a husband. Nevertheless, as a wife, I should at least create a space that promotes his health and well-being. With that in mind, I immerse myself even more in household chores. We may miss each other and feel lonely at times, but it's all for the sake of our family. May my husband stay healthy and full of energy for a long time. I just need to continue supporting him day by day with all my heart. With these thoughts in my heart, I keep striving to do my best for my beloved husband every day. Time passed, and before we knew it, another season had come and gone for us as a couple. My repertoire of cooking has expanded, and I've steadily improved my skills as a homemaker. Nevertheless, I'm confident in my abilities, but I rarely have the opportunity to showcase them to anyone other than my husband. I cook everything from delicious dishes to health-conscious ones. Perhaps I've become a better wife than I thought. Meanwhile, my husband still appears to be incredibly busy with work, and in fact, he seems to be working more overtime than before. Looking back, we've had fewer and fewer chances to converse. Recently, he only comes home about half the week and often spends the night at his parents' house, which is somewhat closer to his workplace. Efficiency-wise, it might make sense, but the frequency is just too high. No matter how work-focused he is, I can't help but feel a bit frustrated. Moreover, His notifications about staying at his parents' house always come right before he should be about to return. I sigh, hoping he could at least give me a heads up by late afternoon. Surely, his parents must also find it inconvenient. I do have worries in that regard, but I find it somewhat burdensome, so I haven't reached out. The reason for my reluctance is simple: my mother-in-law, Hattie, doesn't like me. The cause is straightforward and unchangeable: it's related to my educational background. My husband is highly educated, and I'm just a high school graduate. This seems to irk my mother-in-law. Indeed, my husband, with his degree from a respectable university, is a source of pride for her. However, we chose to marry each other without letting educational backgrounds dictate our love. She never understood that, and every time we met, she would constantly make snide remarks about me. We grew distant over time, becoming stressors for each other. My husband tried to mediate between us, but that's now a thing of the past. Our home and my in-laws' home aren't that far apart physically. Nevertheless, I had come to realize that my relationship with my mother-in-law had become quite distant. If I'm told to stay at such a place, I can't easily interject with anything. That's because I don't want to hear complaints from my mother-in-law anymore. While there are frustrations, there's no need to escalate things. I just wish for just a bit earlier communication. With these thoughts in mind, I tidy up the dinner I had prepared. I thought today's ginger pork turned out well. But before I knew it, I'm sighing repeatedly. Still, if it makes my husband's life easier, I'll try to change my mindset. I tell myself that every time and spend my time in the living room. I hope he comes back tomorrow. For that, I'll plan another delicious meal. This routine continued for a few months until one day, I received a call from my friend Anaya. She's my closest friend and we've known each other for 10 years. Coincidentally, her company is a business partner of my husband's company. She usually contacts me with a high level of enthusiasm, but this time, something was different. It was clear that this was a serious conversation. "Hey, Esmeralda, do you have time this weekend? I've got something to discuss." It was a curious atmosphere, but it didn't seem like the kind of topic to be discussed over the phone. Although it was a few days in advance, I decided to accept her invitation, mentally preparing myself for whatever it might be. On the appointed day, I met my friend at our usual izakaya. It's a quiet and cozy place for a drinking establishment. It's our favorite spot, and we usually spend time here. "Sorry, I need a drink to talk about this," my friend said, as she energetically poured herself a glass of draft beer. "It's okay, but what's going on?" "This isn't like you," I replied, taking a sip of my beer. Cold beer is always comforting, no matter the situation. "Here's the thing, it's about Griffin," she began. "There are rumors at my company that he's having an affair." Her sudden statement made me spit out my beer. I had never even imagined that my husband could be involved in an affair. "Come on, stop it." "There's no way that's true," I exclaimed. However, as she stared at my face, my friend wore a serious expression. It became clear to me that this was no trivial matter. According to my friend who continued speaking, it seems my husband is involved with a female colleague who works under him. It seems one of my friend's coworkers happened to see them holding hands while walking together. After that, they carefully observed the two at work and it indeed appeared that there was a connection beyond just professional. "I thought this might be a mistake on our part, but I wanted to let you know," my friend said after downing the remaining drink in one go, wearing a relieved expression. Simultaneously, she gripped my hand firmly, looking at me intently. "If there's anything I can do to help, please tell me. We're friends, after all." I did feel sadness and shock. It was only natural to feel that way when confronted with the possibility that your beloved might be cheating. However, my gratitude for my friend and her dependable support outweighed these feelings. "Yeah, thank you. You're the best, Anaya." My friend, who had secretly shared this painful truth with me and offered her support, was truly remarkable. To honor her intentions, I decided to investigate my husband's situation. Upon returning home, I contemplated my husband's usual behaviors. As I thought about it more carefully, there were indeed many aspects that seemed unnatural. His frequent reliance on his parents for the days he worked overtime was one thing, and going out dressed formally on weekends was another. But no matter how much I thought about it, I couldn't find any answers. So, to ascertain the truth, I decided to hire a private investigator. I never imagined I'd find myself in such a situation, so I often consulted my friend whenever needed. I felt anxious and nervous because I couldn't let my husband find out. However, this worry turned out to be entirely unnecessary. After all, my husband rarely came home, and our lives had become a series of passing each other by. As long as I continued to avoid him and go about my life, there wouldn't be any problems. I reminded myself to stay the same as usual, as always, and carried on with my daily routine. I found solace and a mix of emotions in living alongside a husband who showed no signs of noticing anything. 2 weeks after the investigation, I received a report from the private investigator confirming the end of their inquiry. The results were grim. On the day my husband had claimed to be visiting his parents, he was actually at a hotel with his female subordinate. I can't believe my husband actually. In my head, I had acknowledged the possibility. However, deep down, I had still believed in my husband. Faced with the cruel truth, tears welled up uncontrollably. I went over the investigation details meticulously in the living room. Feeling anxious being alone, I asked a friend to join me, and we spent the night talking and drinking. But more than sadness, another emotion started to surface: anger at being betrayed. I made up my mind to divorce my husband and resolve this matter once and for all. Over the next few days, I started taking action without informing my husband. I began with finding a new place to live and planning the move. Surprisingly, this went smoothly, and preparations for the divorce were progressing steadily. I had also already arranged for a lawyer. With so much to do, I was so busy that I hardly had time to dwell on my sadness. Then one night, my friend called me. "Hey, there's a huge crowd outside your husband Griffin's parents' house. It's on fire." His parents' house was on the way from the station to my friend's house. I knew the location because they had helped me before when I was facing harassment from my in-laws. "What? Are you serious? I'll head there right away." I was in the middle of folding laundry, but I couldn't afford to waste any time. I rushed to my in-laws' house. My relationship with my mother-in-law had been strained, but in such a serious situation, there was no time for that. Based on the phone conversation, I knew that both my mother-in-law and father-in-law were outside and safe. That was the only reassuring information I had. When I arrived at my in-laws' house, several fire trucks were already fighting the blaze with water. Still, the flames raged, and the house looked drastically different. This was a serious situation. I hurriedly tried to contact my husband. No matter how angry or resentful I might be, this was something I had to convey. I quickly took out my smartphone, and just as I did, I received a call from my husband. "Hello. Where are you right now?" My husband spoke cheerfully without a trace of concern, completely unaware of my turmoil. "I'm at my parents' house right now. I came to pick up something I forgot, and I thought I'd stay here again today. My mom told me to take it easy, so here I am." My husband, who knew nothing, calmly told yet another lie, seemingly as relaxed as always. It seemed he was planning to leisurely stay at his parents' house amidst this blazing fire. "Sure, go ahead. But your parents' house is on fire right in front of me." Upon hearing those words, my husband's voice trembled, and he sounded frantic. "What? What do you mean? Oh, I forgot to mention. I won't be returning to that house anymore. I'll send you the documents soon, so fill them out properly. Well then, give my regards to your affair partner." With those words, I turned off my smartphone. If you're in trouble, rely on me. It was an emergency situation, but I was used to this by now. I nodded to my friend's smile, then returned home to collect my belongings. I could now enter my new place, and that's where I started my new life. The fire apparently originated in the kitchen. It seemed my husband had forgotten to turn off the stove after frying something. My in-laws hurriedly arrived, joining my husband. They had lost their place to live, so they ended up staying overnight at the house we used to live in. However, when they arrived home, I was nowhere to be found. When they asked my husband what was going on, they received an ambiguous response. My mother-in-law then sent me a message. "Hey, Esmeralda. Why aren't you here? I'm already at your place, so hurry back. You'd better entertain me." The messages were aggressive from the very first one. It was futile to explain to her that I wanted a divorce because of my husband's affair. "A high school graduate bride like you should accept a man's infidelity." Other messages followed, criticizing me for his infidelity and more. I realized that trying to engage with her was pointless. So, I decided to ignore my mother-in-law completely. On the other hand, my husband bombarded me with apologies through messages. Of course, I also ignored those and chose to watch how things would unfold. I knew the lawyer would handle the rest. In the days that followed, the lawyer I had hired sent divorce papers and documents regarding alimony to my husband. It seemed my judgment had been correct. This lawyer was exceptional and well-versed in this type of correspondence. Initially, my husband hesitated, but when presented with a multitude of evidence, he had no choice but to accept. He desperately pleaded for a simple divorce, but I had made it clear that I would not back down. This seemed to perplex my husband, and he was likely concerned about the impact on his job. In the end, he reluctantly signed the documents. My mother-in-law, who was present, continued to berate me as a gold-digging woman until the very end. Her harsh words could have led to defamation lawsuits. According to the lawyer's advice, she eventually fell silent and sulked. It's apt to say it was like she had a bitter pill to swallow, given her expression. I felt relieved hearing the lawyer talk with a smile. Afterward, my ex-husband apparently had a very difficult life. Alimony, property division, and financial support for his parents seemed to have stretched his finances to the limit. Moreover, at work, his affair and divorce became public knowledge, and he was viewed with disdain by his colleagues. Unable to bear their judgmental gazes, he requested a transfer to another department. This new department was where he wouldn't have to interact with anyone, essentially a miscellaneous tasks department with many senior employees. He faced bullying every day, and it seemed to be taking a toll on his mental health. His affair partner, too, couldn't withstand the scrutiny and chose to resign promptly. This was despite their affair being merely a fling with no deep love. My ex-husband explained that it was just him seeking young companionship with a casual attitude. Thus, these two people had dramatically altered their lives for a brief fling. However, I was no longer aware of the alimony, as it was paid using the funds my ex-in-laws provided for rebuilding their house. I heard rumors that my ex-husband had become a recluse, and his once beautiful looks had gone to waste. My friend kept sharing these stories during our drinking sessions. The person who replaced my ex-husband told her about it during their conversations, as she was always kind to women but harsh with male employees. On the other hand, I was leisurely job hunting with a substantial amount of money in hand. It seemed I was going to work at a shop run by a friend's acquaintance. They had recently opened the shop, and it was already attracting many customers, so they were short-staffed. They learned about my experience and invited me to join them. The shop had a calm and pleasant atmosphere. Additionally, the shop manager, like me and my friend, was a confirmed bachelor and a senior. I found it quite reassuring to have these experienced seniors to guide me in various aspects of life. As I had more time to think, I started contemplating new ways of living. From now on, I was a free woman. I could experience anything that piqued my interest. With dependable senior colleagues to guide me, I was ready to step into a new world. Thinking about it, the sadness of divorce disappeared, and I became more optimistic. My path in life from now on was filled with exciting possibilities. The thought of it makes me feel excited even now.